in thinking about this topic, it was kind of clear to me that uncertain futures is nothing new. Yeah, we always like to think, oh, 20th century, now 21st century, everything's so uncertain, and there's these wars all over the place, and there's climate change and environmental destruction and all this stuff going on. And yes, that's quite important, and yes, that's a concern. But you know, the whole nature of samsara is uncertain. The whole nature of cyclic existence, there's nothing at all certain in it. And that hasn't changed at all. It doesn't matter where we live, what time period we live in. There's, everything is in a constant state of flux. Of course, we like to, we see things as very stable out there, and we say, oh yes, anicca, everything changes, except me and everything around me. And that all remains the same, remains stable. That's the way our mind looks at it. Don't you feel like you're the same person as you were yesterday? Hello? Hello? Yeah? I'm the same person I was yesterday. Everything's stable. Sydney's the same as it was yesterday. Yeah. It's going to be the same tomorrow. I mean, this is our deluded outlook. This is our ignorant outlook that doesn't understand the nature of cyclic existence. Because everything, in fact, is in a constant state of flux. And there's no way to press the pause button and stop it from changing. Yeah. No way to press the pause button. And say, hey, I need a break. Let's not change for a few days. Okay, let me catch up and, kind of get accustomed to the idea, and then the world can continue changing. No, there's no pause button to make that happen. Because everything arises due to causes and conditions, and anything that is under the influence of causes and conditions, its very nature, its very being, is transient. Doesn't remain the same, even in the very next nanosecond. There's two levels of impermanence, There's the gross level, like a house falls down, or you break your leg, or you get a new job, all those things, a gross state where everybody can look around and say, oh yes, that changed. Sun rises, sun sets, somebody is born, somebody dies. Gross levels of impermanence. Those freak us out enough, don't they? When something, a big change happens unexpectedly, we get a little bit freaked out, or a lot freaked out by it. Oh, I thought everybody I knew was going to be alive this evening, and my best friend isn't. Something happened today, and all of a sudden my best friend, their body has become a corpse, their mind is in another realm, they're completely gone. So this level of gross impermanence is very shocking to us. Subtle impermanence, we're completely, ignorant of. We hardly even think about it. Because gross impermanence, like the sun rising and the sun setting, somebody being born, somebody dying, these gross levels of change happen because on a momentary level there is change. Okay? So it isn't that the sun rises and then nothing happens for 10 hours or 12 hours, and then it sets. As it's rising, it's changing, and it goes across the sky, or rather, we on planet Earth turn, and then finally there's the gross impermanence of the sun setting. But that can only happen because on a momentary level, the sun was inching its way across the sky. Okay? So it's the same thing with birth and death. We usually think, oh, somebody's born, then they're young for a really long time. Really long. In fact, every year your definition of old changes. Have you noticed that? Yeah, my definition of old is very different than it used to be. Yeah, I remember when I was like 21, I had a friend who was 40. She was like ancient. I used to say, Martha, what's it like to be 40? And now it's like 40, they're kids. They're still kids. They don't. So, really my own experience, your definition of old changes every year. So I'm still young. Yeah. And kind of old age, that happens later on. Yeah. And then death, that really happens later on. And it only happens to other people. Somehow I'm going to avoid it. I don't know how yet, but somehow it's not going to happen to me. Yeah, that's this gut feeling inside. Don't you? Do you feel that way? Gut feeling inside. And yet, all we have to do is look for a moment or two, and we see that our gut feeling is completely nuts. It has nothing to do with reality at all. And that's why the Buddha talked about ignorance. That is a very good illustration of ignorance. And that's not even the deepest level of ignorance that we suffer from. Okay? So the whole idea is everything's constantly changing. We like to feel that we are a solid, permanent person who is really there, who doesn't depend on causes and conditions. I mean, do you feel like you're dependent on causes and conditions? Is your gut feeling, I exist only because the causes for me exist? Did you ever have that feeling? Do you ever have that thought? I exist only because the causes for me exist? Hello? There, yeah. I feel like, I've always been here, I always will be. What's this stuff about causes and conditions? I am immutable. I am independent of everything. I am me. I sit here. Yeah. And furthermore, I can control things. And if I can't, I should be able to. Do you have that feeling? That feeling about when you say the word I, when you say your name? Do you think, I exist because of causes and conditions? No, I exist because I'm here, ready-made, under my own power. Totally wrong, because all we have to do is look. And of course we exist due to causes and conditions. We aren't some self-enclosed entity that keeps ourselves alive. That is a definite given thing to exist. So our whole feeling about who we are, completely wrong. Completely wrong. And part of this feeling of being an independent person, I'm just here because I exist. Like I said, I should be able to control everything. So there's nothing uncertain about the future, because if I only try hard enough, I'll be able to control it. Right? If I only try hard enough, if I only find exactly the right way, I'll be able to make everybody do what I want them to do. Right? Yeah? Hear that feeling? I feel like I'm talking to myself. Sitting there like, yeah, well, I'm just talking about myself, so I'll stop asking you how you feel. Tell you how I feel, okay? Because I'm this independent entity sitting out here. I should be able to control everything. And I keep trying to control everything. It starts with the people I live with. Those are the ones that I really focus on controlling. Okay? So what time you get up, what time you go to bed, how you talk to me, how you walk, when you clean the dishes, how you fold the laundry. I have advice for you on everything. Yeah? And I will get you to do it the way I want you to do it. And if you don't, then I'm just going to keep trying, and I'm going to yell and scream and throw a temper tantrum until you figure out that I'm right. Yeah? And so this is all coming from this gut feeling of there's a real person here who is in control even of this microphone. Yeah? And yet, how much are we really in control? Can you control your digestion? If we could, we wouldn't have to go to the doctor. Yeah. Can you control your aging process? You can jog all you want to. You can eat all the spinach you want to. Yeah. You can have lots of plastic surgery. But can you control the aging process? Okay. So we really, we can control, yes, I can move my hand, At least right now, if I have a disability, I can't move my hand. And someday I'm going to have a disease or be injured or disabled unless I die first. So now I can move my hand, but is that guaranteed that I'm going to be able to move my hand forever and ever? When I was in college, I spent one summer working in an old folks home. And I worked with, it was a nursing home, so there were younger people there too. Some of them had MS very severely, and I used to work doing kind of physical therapy stuff with them. And, move their hands for them, move their legs, massage, and so on. And I would go home at night, and I would go like this. And just wonder, how come I can move my fingers and the people I was with today couldn't? How come I can go like this? And I'm sitting in the same room, with other living beings who are just like me. And they have the intention to move their hand, but they can't. Why? Why is this? And it just seems so fascinating to me that this thing I take for granted, like being able to move my hand, other people can't do. And then as I age, you know, because once in a while I age, not too often, but once in a while, it really strikes me, you know, I'm going to, if I live that long, I will be injured or disabled or very ill. And there's no other choice beside that. At some point, that is going to happen. Maybe that's a certain future. Yeah? I mean, Buddha told us from the very beginning, birth, aging, sickness, death. That's it. So we had birth. So the other three are definite. Unless, of course, death comes first. Yeah, so that's certain. But how come we live our life like it's uncertain? Like it happens to everybody else but me? Thank goodness. So there's something very incorrect with our mode of thinking and with our gut way of apprehending things. And this brings us a lot of grief in our life because we don't accept reality. And we're constantly battling reality. The reality is whatever comes together separates. Right? Yeah? Things that come together can't stay together forever. They're under the influence of other causes and conditions. So sometime they're going to separate. It's natural. It's a given. But every time we separate from something we like, we go, how did that happen? Yeah, why did that happen? That wasn't supposed to happen. That wasn't in my plan book for today. Yeah, wasn't even in my calendar for the year. Or the calendar for my life. And yet, it happened. And you know what? The Buddha told me long time ago it was going to happen. But I didn't listen. So now when it happens, I'm going, that's not fair. A friend of mine, his wife died recently of cancer. And he told me that she felt like it wasn't fair that she got sick and died. And I thought, wow. You know, it's not, you know, can you imagine? You have cancer, you know you're going to die, and what do you think? It's not fair? Who in the world are you going to complain to that it's not fair? If you can't complain to anybody about the injustice of it all, because nobody can do anything about it, then why waste our time feeling that it's unfair? You getting what I mean? Yeah. Actually, I think, I don't know Aussies as well, but in the US, I think some of the first words we learn as kids, it's not fair. Yeah? Because what do? You tell me if it's like this here. You know, your brother or sister, who's older or younger, gets to do something that you don't. What do we say? It's not fair. I should get to do that. I get in trouble when my younger brother did something. It's not fair. He started it. As if him starting, I mean, he always started it, because I didn't do anything on that. Yeah. As if him starting it was reason enough for him to get in trouble, as if I had no part in it. So I was saying, life isn't fair. It's not fair. What do I mean it's not fair? Who are we going to complain to? We're the ones who created the karma that's ripening in what we experience. Yeah. We created what we're experiencing. What do we mean it's not fair? Yeah. Do we expect Buddha to kind of, whoosh down on a magic carpet and say, now I'm answering all your prayers. Your friends will be happy and your enemies will go to hell. What we've been praying for. Oh, do we think that that's the fruit of our prayers? That Buddha's going to come in like God? Remember when we used to believe in God? Oh, God's going to fix it all. Yeah, you think God's in control? You think Buddha's in control? That all we have to do is pray and, you guys don't even give Buddha any oranges and apples. And you expect him to do something for you? Don't even give him anything? That's not fair. But, when we think about it, it's we don't have really so much control. In our meditation that we did, anybody not get distracted? Here's your test. Yeah. Anybody not have extraneous thoughts come through their mind? Oh, you're all so humble. Maybe you're truthful. I had gazillions of extraneous thoughts coming through my mind. Can I control my mind? Yeah. Sometimes I think, when my meditation's really crazy, I think, oh, I have all these strange thoughts because I don't really care enough, I'm not really trying. If I tried a little bit harder, then I'm sure I could attain samadhi by Tuesday. It's just a matter of, I just have to try a little bit harder. And it's just because, I'm just being a little bit lazy, but I know I can control it and make it happen. Forget it. Forget it. Yeah, it's not a matter of like willing myself. You can't will yourself into samadhi. Okay? So, my point is that somehow we have to relax into uncertainty because uncertainty is the very fabric of our life. And to think that we can control everything or we should be able to control everything is hallucination. That, having said that, that doesn't mean that we just lean back and say, "Ke sara, sara." I'm going to drink tea, I don't have to do anything because I can't control the world. So I'm not going to even try. You can blow it up, you can devastate it. I can't control, so I'm just going to sit here, drink tea, hang out at a beautiful Australian beach. Let the world fall apart. Not my business. I can't control it. That's the wrong attitude too, isn't it? Just because we can't control everything doesn't mean we shouldn't take steps in a good direction. It doesn't mean just because we can't control things and make them happen the way we want, doesn't mean we shouldn't create the causes for them to happen. Okay? So I see life very much as creating the causes. That's what I'm doing in life. I'm creating the causes. Trying to create the cause for a good future rebirth, create the cause to attain liberation, create the cause to become a bodhisattva and progress through the stages and arrive at full awakening. Yeah. Just create the causes. Yeah. Cause and effect works. If I create the causes, the effects are going to come, and I don't need to worry about it. Yeah, I don't need to try and control them. If I create the causes, I can trust that effects will come. That doesn't mean that I can control when the effects come, because for an effect to arise depends on a huge multiplicity of causes, which again, I cannot will that all these causes come together at the exact moment I want them to. All I can do is create causes and steer my energy and other people's energy in a good direction. It's like when you plant your garden in the springtime. You put the seeds in, you water it, you fertilize it. Can you make the plants grow? Yeah. I don't care what the ads for Miracle-Gro say. Yeah. You cannot make a plant grow. All we can do is create the causes and conditions. If all the causes and conditions come together, it's going to grow. If they don't come together, it won't grow. Yeah. So our job, create causes and conditions. Yeah. When we plant the seed and we water it and we put the fertilizer in, we don't dig the seed up every day to see if it's sprouted yet. So similar in our lives, you know, when we really learn about karma and what actions cause happiness and what actions cause suffering, then all we can do is abandon the causes of the suffering we don't want, create the causes for the happiness that we do want, and then let things be. We can't go on protest. Buddha, I did 100,000 prostrations. Don't you think that was wonderful? Don't I deserve to win the lottery now? Actually, do you think winning the lottery is happiness? I have doubts. I think winning the lottery might produce a whole lot of other problems that we never anticipated. They often say, what?
I'm willing to find out.
Okay. Good. You find out, then let us know. Because you know, when you win the lottery, we're all going to be your friends. And we're all going to kind of incidentally need a little bit of money. And since you won the lottery and have so much, now come on. You don't want us to think you're cheap, do you? Okay, win the lottery and have, you know, then what happens? You all of a sudden you have all these relatives you never knew you had. Yeah, and all these friends you never knew you had. And they all need a little bit of dough. Okay. So, coming back to uncertain futures. I remember after 9/11 in the U.S., I had already planned before that to go somewhere and teach. So I was at this other town in Montana, walking around and just contemplating 9/11, and thinking, we don't really know what's going to happen now. Yeah, because all of a sudden people were really freaked out. They're buying all this food and stockpiling food and doing all sorts of things. You know what our dear president told us to do after 9/11? George Bush. Such good advice for the country. You know what he told us to do? 2 things. 1, be angry. 2, go shopping. I'm serious. That's what he said. If you are a good American citizen, you will go shopping because it's good for the economy. And now, after 9/11, we're very uncertain what's going to happen. We need a good economy. Go buy stuff. That's real leadership, isn't it? Yeah. I heard he and Tony Abbott kind of get along well. They really see eye to eye. So, where was I? Yes, walking around the streets in Missoula, contemplating 9/11, and not knowing, what's going to happen? Will we have food in the grocery store next week? Yeah. Is there another attack that's going to happen? Is everybody going to try and flee the city? And if everybody leaves the city, what am I going to do? I don't have a car. Yeah? And what are you fleeing to? Where are you going anyway? And, it was kind of like, Chicken Little and Is the Sky Going to Fall? Everybody was running around. And so just thinking about it, well, what do? I can't control everything. Yeah, our Buddhist center wrote a letter to our dear president telling him what we thought, but, who knows? I thought, well, how am I going? This is a really uncertain future. What am I going to do? I thought, what can I do? The only thing I can do is have a kind heart and use my wisdom. Yeah? How do you deal with an uncertain future? You have a kind heart. Because if you don't have a kind heart, what's the alternative? You're angry, you're bitter, you complain, you feel like life cheated you, you steal other people's stuff, because we feel that we deserve it more than they do. And what's the alternative to kindness? Big mess and tons of harmful karma. So, uncertain future, what to do? Be kind. Yeah? Use our wisdom as best as we can. Help others. I mean, really, when you think about it, can you do anything better than that? I had a friend who told me this many years ago. She wasn't feeling well, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor diagnosed, I forget what the disease was, but it was some kind of terminal condition. And she was young, she was like maybe in her 30s, and all of a sudden, I don't feel well, I have a terminal condition. Yeah. Begin freak out. Okay. And she said, so she was starting to really freak out, and then the thought entered her mind, what would the Dalai Lama do if he were in my shoes? How would His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, handle this situation? And she said, the thought came to her, just be kind. So she thought, okay, I have a terminal diagnosis. I'm going to die. I'm going to be kind to the doctors, to the technicians, to the nurses. I'm going to be kind to my family because they're going to have a big freak out. I'm going to be kind to my friends. I'm going to be kind to everybody who helps me. You know, my practice is just be kind. Yeah, and that was the determination she made on how to handle her terminal illness. And it was really surprising because after some weeks, she went again to the doctor. And it turned out that he had misdiagnosed her condition. Didn't have a terminal illness after all. Hmm? Yeah. But I thought, wow, you know, that's what I have to keep in mind. In any situation, no matter what I face, good, bad, or otherwise, just be kind. Take care of other sentient beings. Yeah, spread some good energy. Be considerate. Help others. Another story about uncertainty. I one day was talking with another friend of mine, and who, I forget what we were talking about. I think she might have been ill too, and was talking about the feelings of uncertainty that come with illness. And then she was asking me, you know, how do I deal with uncertainty, and when have I felt uncertain? And so I started to tell her about starting Sravasti Abbey. You know, when I started Sravasti Abbey, there was and is not, at present, a big organization behind me. There are no huge benefactors that are picking up the tab. Everything is a little bit here, a little bit there, you know. And at first, when I was trying to make an abbey, it didn't turn out so well. Yeah, because I couldn't control the conditions. So I was talking about, you know, how I felt like I was just in a little bit of a free fall in trying to create this monastery, because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this is going to come together. And then after I said that, you know, I felt that starting to build the monastery, I was going into a stage of free fall. And then I corrected myself and I said, actually, you know, I've been in free fall my whole life. It's not like I've had guaranteed stability and then you start a monastery and that's when you fall off the cliff. It's like, actually, my whole life I've been in free fall. Not really knowing what the future is going to be. I mean, when I was young, I never thought I would be a Buddhist nun. Neither did my parents. You know? That was not on my list of career opportunities as a child, Buddhist nun. Yeah. Even Buddhist wasn't on the list of career, you know, possibilities. Because my parents kept reminding me, you know, you don't have a Buddhist gene. Your entire ancestry is not Buddhist. How come you're Buddhist? What's wrong with you? You know, they were trying to control, they couldn't. So I thought, you know, my whole life, I've just been in free fall. We never really know what's going to happen. We plan all these things, but do our plans come about as we've planned? One of my teachers has no sense of time, or at least that's what it appears like superficially. Yeah, the teaching is supposed to start at 7 in the evening. So you get there at 5 to 7, sit down and wait. 8 o'clock passes, 9 o'clock passes, 10 o'clock passes. Maybe around 11:30, when it's an hour and a half past your bedtime, then he comes. And he teaches until 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm a morning person. I like to get up early. I'm not an evening person. I fade in the evening. So the way my teacher does things, anything that's planned, yeah, he's supposed to arrive somewhere on Tuesday. You don't know which Tuesday. Yeah, you're ready on Tuesday. It doesn't come on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, and you're never really sure until he gets there. So what I've learned from my teacher is that as soon as you have a plan, you know what's not going to happen. Yeah? And it's been a very, very useful teaching to me. Yeah? As soon as you have a plan, realize you have no control to make it happen the way you want. The only thing we can possibly control is our own response to uncertain conditions. And how are we going to control our response? 3 words. You didn't listen? What are the 3 words? First word? Just be kind. And use whatever wisdom we have. And enjoy. Because the mind that, okay, when we look at worry, anxiety, fear, yeah, these are emotions that people really suffer from nowadays. So much worry and anxiety and fear. What's the object? What time period are we does worry, anxiety, and fear concern? Are we worried about the past? Do you worry about the past? You do? How can you worry about the past? It's already over. But I mean, worry about the past. The past is gone and done. Yeah, we're worried about the future, aren't we? So we're worried about what hasn't yet happened. Okay? So suffering that has not yet happened, that is uncertain to happen, we're making ourselves miserable about. Isn't it? Isn't that what anxiety is? Let's make myself miserable over something that hasn't happened, that may never happen. Let's drive myself crazy, drive everybody around me nuts, and create the cause for the unwanted to happen. Because so often, you know, when we worry, we create the cause for it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's strange, our human mind, isn't it? How we get so bent out of shape about what hasn't happened and what may never happen. Shantideva, great Indian sage, if I can modify his verse a little bit, it would come out as, if you can do something about it, don't worry. And if you can't do anything about it, no need to worry. Yeah? I mean, worry, anxiety, fear, they're so useless. And yet, our minds are so caught up in them, inventing fantasy horrors. Now, I'm not saying never think about the future. Of course we have to think about the future. We have to make a plan so that we know what won't happen. We have to think about the future. But let's not make the future so concrete in our mind. And let's not, you know, dream up horror stories about it. If we look in the future and there's something bad that can happen, then we can take steps right now, maybe to try and avoid it, or if it happens, to remedy it. Like I was saying earlier, you know, unless I die first, I'm going to get old and sick and crippled and injured and all of that. Okay. So what am I going to do? Just sit and worry about it? Just go to the gym all day long? No. Yeah. I'm going to try and eat well and keep my health well. But the way I look at it is the best way to be happy when you're old and sick and injured is to have the Dharma integrated in your mind. Yeah? Because if you have Dharma in your mind, if you can tame your mind and look at life through a Dharma perspective, then whatever is going on with your body, you know, that you can't control, you can still have a happy mind. Whereas if we don't practice the Dharma and we don't know how to work with our mind, then even the slightest, tiniest thing makes us totally miserable. So my preparation for old age is Dharma practice. Because I figure, okay, I don't really know what's going to be happening, but may I age gracefully? Yeah? May I accept what happens? May I not be a pain in the neck? Yeah, I really don't want to be a pain in the neck for the people around me. You know? I love to complain. I have a strong habit of complaining. If you ever need somebody to complain, ask me. You know, I can think of many things to complain about. But, you know, I would really like, when I'm old, not to be a complainer. Yeah? When I'm old, I would like to be able to spread joy. And then why wait until I'm old? You know, I should start practicing spreading joy now. Because we're creatures of habit, so might as well start now. So, you know, we make preparation for difficulties that can come in the future. We think about the future. But we use our wisdom to make preparations. Walt Disney made preparations for death by you know, he froze his whole body. Did you know that? How do you say it? Cryogenics? Yeah, he froze his entire body, thinking that sometime in the future, science we'll find a way to bring him back to life. Okay. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. Yeah, that's a hopeless cause. But, so we use our wisdom. We make plans according to the Dharma. We deal in a practical way with the situation as best as we can. Like I said, it doesn't mean just signing off and saying, I don't care. Yeah, we do care, and we do what we can to help. But there's some space in our mind. Yeah, there's some awareness of impermanence. There's some awareness of cyclic existence being unsatisfactory as its very nature. There's some awareness of there not being some controlling person here in my aggregates or separate from my aggregates. Instead, we have a view of dependent arising. Things exist dependent on other factors. So we create causes. And then we relax. Okay, so now maybe some questions?
Thank you so much for your talk, Venerable. It's very, very joyful to hear such wisdom. I was wondering whether you could talk a bit about your experience at the Abbey in the simple life and what recommendations you could give about how we could live more simply and thereby have less anxiety about uncertain futures.
How we can live more simply. Really cut down on what you think you need. Yeah? Because our greedy mind always needs this, that, and the other thing. And I find it actually a challenge, because we just built, we needed a new building. So we built a new building. Then you need furniture. Then, this person, in the kitchen needs this. And that person in the library needs that. And that person in the workroom needs that. And all of a sudden, we have all these needs. And I have to go, okay, folks, slow down. Let's really check if we need all these things. And do we need them now? And can we get along without them? Yeah. We recycle as much as we possibly can. Actually, we have very little garbage because all of our plastic, including plastic bags, cardboard, paper, metal, everything, all that stuff we recycle. The one thing that we're not so good at is getting the people who offer us food to bring it in cloth bags. We keep encouraging them to do that, but they bring plastic bags. There was another thing you reminded me of that I wanted to mention that doesn't answer your question. Did I answer your question well enough? Oh, let me tell you another thing we do, is we only go to town when we need to. So it's not like, oh, I need something today, let's go into town and get it. No. You train people to think ahead of what they may need, and then when somebody has to go for a doctor's or dentist appointment, they have a whole list this long, yeah, and they go and get everything all at one time, because we live out in the middle of nowhere, and we drive. I personally don't drive, but the monastics drive, because I think it's very wasteful to ask the lay people to come pick us up, take us somewhere, bring us back, and then go back home. Yeah? Because, for example, if we're going to be giving a teaching in one of the towns near us, the big towns are like an hour and a quarter away. So that means that to pick us up and take us back, 1, 2, 3, 5 hours, somebody's using petrol, driving. Yeah. So, but if we drive, then it's only 2.5 hours. So it's half as much petrol. Yeah. So we try and drive as little as we can. Yeah. That's not always easy, but we try. We do that. We have geothermal heating and cooling, so that takes the heat from the earth, so it cuts down on the electricity that we need. I'm always going around telling people to turn off the heaters or turn down the heaters. They don't always listen to me, but I try. Does that answer your question okay, or what else were you thinking?
I was wondering whether you could talk about your experience about the link between reduction in anxiety and living a more simple life.
The link between reduction and anxiety. Anxiety?
So, is, in your experience, is it the case that when we choose to live more simply, we're less stressed out because we're not living such complex lives?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The more you have, the more hell realms you create. It's true. You have a car, then you have car hell. Don't you? Because the car breaks down. You have a computer, then you have computer hell. Which is always, you know, when you need to print something out immediately. You have an iPhone, you have iPhone hell. So none of our monastics have iPhones. Yeah. We have abolished iPhone hell. We have one iPhone for the whole monastery. You know, so that when somebody goes out, you can take it in case somebody needs to contact you. So you can get one more thing on the list. But we usually forget the phone when we go out. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, definitely living simply, you have fewer worries because you don't have as much stuff to worry about.
Thank you for your talk, Venerable. I understand, for myself, I can live without, I think I can live without material goods a lot easier than, I wouldn't know how to live without things like love and family and friends. So how could you address that, and how, because as humans we're, and you know, in terms of evolution, we're drawn to each other to, you know, fall in love and procreate and that kind of stuff. So how can you live more simply without craving, you know, those attachments like love and friendships and things like that?
Okay, there's about 10 questions.
Well, I mean, you know, I find things like recycling or, you know, living in a tent, you know, I could do, but living without love, I don't think I could do.
So there's different kinds of love. There's many different kinds of love, okay? We are social creatures. Definitely we're social creatures. And we're also dependent on each other to stay alive. So we need each other. The question is, what is a healthy way to care about each other? Yeah. The kind of love, in quotations, that is clingy and I need and I don't want to separate from, that kind of love is a setup for pain. Yeah? I mean, basically romantic love, if I can be frank, is a setup for pain. Yeah? Yeah? 3 people agree with me. But you learn to live without romantic love. Yeah, it's fine. You can do without it. Because you learn how to connect with people in an entirely different way. Yeah. And let me tell you, you know, getting rid of romantic love, getting rid of all the sexual thing of, you know, flirting with him and, you know, where's he doing his walking meditation? So I do my walking meditation next to him, you know, and kind of, is he looking at me when I walk in the meditation hall? Do I have the right kind of meditation cushion? You know, how do my robes look today? You know, getting rid of all of that is such a relief. Really, truly, it is such a relief. Yeah. I don't care how I look. I look the way I look. If people like me, they like me. If people don't like me, that's okay. It's a free world. Yeah. But I'm not going to do 10 backflips so that I look gorgeous. Yeah, because I'm getting older and uglier. I'm not getting younger and beautiful. Yeah, so I accept that. So that's okay. So if somebody likes me, it's not going to be because of the way I look. It's going to be because of something inside here. Yeah, and that's the way I want it. I don't want somebody liking me because of the way I look. Because that's a setup for disaster. Hmm? Yeah, you agree? Yeah. So you learn to relate to people in a totally different way. Yeah, and your relationships become so much cleaner, so much clearer, because you're not wanting things, you know? I'm not wanting to attract you, yeah? So I don't need to sit there and figure out what I need to do to get you to like me, yeah? And so then your mind's relaxed. And you focus, you know, if you're focusing on the Dharma, you focus on just being kind. If you're kind, you're going to have friends. I mean, it's really what our moms taught us in kindergarten. Yeah, don't throw sand at other people's eyes. Yeah, because if you do, they won't like you. So the same thing as adults, you know, don't criticize other people. Don't throw the wrench in their projects, you know. Try and be a nice person. And if you are, people will like you. You don't need to worry about all the rest. Yeah? So, yeah, so that's the way I personally deal with it anyway. Yeah. And of course, we could all use more love, but rather than think of all the love that I don't have that I wish I had, I do like what the meditation was at the beginning today, to really look at how much kindness I've received from other people. And really say, I've been the recipient of unbelievable kindness in my life. Just thinking about it, unbelievable kindness. If I don't think about it, then I think, poor me. Yeah, I'm deprived. But if I really open my eyes and look at my life, oh, incredible kindness. Yeah? So when you look at life that way, then you feel joyful.
Yes, thank you very much, Venerable. I'm just wondering if we can talk a bit more about living with uncertainty in future lives. I'm asking because recently there's been a lot of death in my family and my friends' family. Mm-hmm. And incredibly difficult to talk about the uncertainty of death with people. I'm just wondering if you can talk a bit more about this.
So the uncertainty of death or the uncertainty of what we're going to be reborn as in the future?
Yeah, it depends whether it's Buddhist or non-Buddhist.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just the uncertainty of what's happened after death.
Okay, well, I guess I should start with the uncertainty of death, which, I mean, the Buddha taught us death is uncertain, the time of death, I mean, death is certain, sorry. Death is certain. Nobody even blinked. Death is certain, the time of death is uncertain. And the only thing yes, that happened at an interesting time. Yeah? The time of death is uncertain. And the only thing we can take with us when we die are the seeds of the karma we've created. Yeah? Our mental training. Can you hear in the back? Yeah, the only thing we can take with is our mental training and the seeds of the actions that we've done. Yeah? And so when you really think about that, it helps us set our priorities very clearly. Because if I'm going to die and I don't know when, and if I can't take my body with me, and I can't take my friends and relatives with me, and I can't take my wealth with me, and I can't take my social status with me, then what is really important in my life? Yeah. The only thing that comes with me are the seeds of the actions that I've done. Then my karma, my actions, what I choose to think and do and speak, my actions are critically important because that's what's coming with me. And the mental training I do I indulge myself in all my pity parties? Yeah. Do I sit there and complain about life being unfair? Or am I kind? The seeds of those, what I'm thinking about those things and how I decide to act, that's what comes with me. So that's what I need to put my energy into. And I don't need to put my energy into gathering more possessions than I need to keep alive. I don't need to put my energy into being Miss Popularity. I don't need to put my energy into, how I look. I don't need to put my energy into my social status. Yeah. I need to put my energy into my inner development. Yeah. And so when you contemplate death a lot, and then you realize this, it really helps you to set your priorities. And when our priorities are clear, our life goes so much easier. Because then we only focus on what's important and we let go of what isn't important. And if we look every day, so much of our energy is spent on what isn't important. Yeah? We get mad at somebody who honked their horn at us. So what? Yeah? Somebody honked their horn at us. So what? Why do we need to get so angry? Do I want to die being angry about somebody honking their horn at me? No. So if I don't want to die that way, why should I live that way? Do I want to die, so you stop getting upset about all sorts of things. Somebody tells you you're too fat, you're too thin. Okay. Why get upset? If I need to gain weight or lose weight, yes, I do that to try and be healthy. But, you know, I don't need to get upset at somebody for making a statement that is true. Yeah? Somebody tells me I have a big nose, what am I going to say? No. Yes, I have one, but I don't worry about it. Don't have a big nose. It's there. Okay. So, yeah, mindfulness of impermanence and death really makes our mind so much more tranquil. Yeah.
I think I fully agree with that, and I'm just wondering if you can just talk a bit more about like how to allay the fear of people who are actually on the deathbed at the moment. Because sometimes you can.
Yeah.
you
So
can't
how
relieve
to
their
allay
lives.
somebody else's fears? You know, the best way to help them is when they're still alive and healthy. Yeah? And teach them the Dharma. Get them to be generous. Talk to them about loving kindness. The best way to help our friends and relatives have a good death and a good rebirth is to help them create virtue now when they're alive. Yeah? Why do you wait until after they die and then give the Buddhas some apples and oranges? You know? You should really encourage your friends and relatives to be generous now. Not only to the Buddha, but also other sentient beings. Because that's who the Buddha cares about more than anybody else. So they're sentient beings. Okay? So, but then once somebody is actively dying, I love that expression, actively dying. It's such an oxymoron, isn't it? You know, like you were born and then you're not dying. Yeah, you're not dying. And then something happens and then you're actively dying. Yeah, whereas before you weren't dying at all. Because you weren't aging either. It's crazy the way we talk. Anyway, you know, once somebody is actively dying, then remind them of their virtuous actions. Remind them of their kindness to other people. Yeah. Talk to them about going forward with a kind heart and a compassionate heart towards others. Yeah. So talk to them about the virtue that they've created during their lives so that they can rejoice. You know, and then talk to them about going forth with wisdom and compassion. And don't worry about anybody here. We will all be okay, you know. And don't cling on to people when they're dying. Don't die, I love you, I'm gonna miss you so much. Oh my goodness. Do you realize how that is so harmful to the person who's dying? To watch somebody they care about freak out because they're dying? Yeah, let's not do that to the people we care about. Yeah, let's care about them and not worry about ourselves. Time for one more? Yeah.
Well, you said we don't take our social status with us, but then I just wondered, what about reincarnated lamas?
I'm laughing because His Holiness often says that the lamas who are recognized as, as the rebirth of a previous somebody, His Holiness says that's just social status. He says you have to look at somebody's qualifications and not at their titles. Yeah. And he says I've heard him say, at teachings where there's a whole bunch of the tulkus there, and he'll say some of you are not living up to the reputation of your previous life. You know? Oh, he's quite straightforward about it. Yeah? Yes?
I was just wondering, you were talking about if you, when something's outside your control, that you should not worry about it. And I was just wondering, in the context of something like climate change, when you can do everything that's within your control, but it seems like with an issue like that, it seems difficult to not worry because the worry seems to be so justified.
Worry seems to be justified. Why? What benefit does worry bring?
It doesn't bring benefit, but it just seems that it's hard to let go of it because the
It's what?
consequences. It's hard to let go of it because the consequences seem so great.
Yeah.
Even though it's not helping. It's difficult to not, I find it difficult to not worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we may find it difficult to not worry, but that doesn't mean worry is necessary or beneficial. Okay. It's like sometimes we may have the idea that unless I worry about climate change, then I won't do anything to stop it. As if worry is the only thing that can motivate us to take measures to stop climate change. Yeah. Is worry the only thing that can motivate us? Yeah. It's like saying when there's injustice in the world, thinking that anger is the only thing that can motivate us to counteract injustice. Really? Yeah, we have to have defiled states of mind in order to create virtue? That doesn't add up. Okay. So compassion is a very strong motivator for social injustice. Yeah. Compassion can also be a very strong motivator to do what we can do to counteract climate change. Because actually worry just immobilizes us. Yeah? When we're worried, we can't do anything. We're just frozen with worry because our mind's spinning. Yeah? And so we can't think clearly to come up with a good plan of action. And then we can't get ourselves to do anything because we're too busy worrying. I should probably share with you that I came from a family with parents that worried a lot. And I had a very strong intention. I am not going to worry. Yeah? Yeah, because I just saw, worry doesn't do any good. Okay, so the last question.
Talking about the mind, do you think it is? Do you feel that one can control our thoughts in the mind?
One can control
Can one control
our mind.
our mind and our thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if control is exactly the right word.
Or be in control?
We can manage our mind. We can work with our mind. We can influence our mind. We can't control it and make it do what we want. But we can, through our Dharma practice, train our mind. That's a better word than control. We can train our mind.
So except the mind is not in control.
Huh?
Except the mind is not in control.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the mind, we condition the mind. The mind is a conditioned phenomenon. So what can we do? We condition the mind in the way that we want it to be. We train it in the way we want it to be. Yeah. But we can't will it. Is this making some sense? Or are you asking who is the one who trains the mind? You're asking who is the one who trains the mind? The I that is merely labeled independence on the aggregates. Now you're going to say, what in the world is that? Okay? There is no concrete self. It's not like there's a body, there's a mind, and then there's me out here putting my fingers in it all, trying to control it. Yeah. Everything is operating in an interdependent fashion. So we say, I train my mind, but we can't isolate a person and identify a person and say, that is who trains the mind. And we can't identify a mind and draw a line around it and say, that exactly is the mind that's being trained. Because everything exists in dependence upon being conceived and labeled. It doesn't have its own essence. Okay? So,
Thank you, Venerable Chodron. Thank you so much. I have to say that when I organized the talk, I have this enormous joy when I knew that, just heard about the great teacher is going to come to teach tonight, and it lasts for a few days. So I believe for everyone, for a 2 hours talk, it could last longer and last forever, though it's very uncertain. So on behalf of the Buddhist Library and everyone here, I'd like to thank Venerable Chodron for giving a talk tonight. Thank you so much.
let's dedicate merit.
Yes, please.
Okay? So let's rejoice at what we did together this evening. What all of us did together. All of the constructive thoughts and merit that we created. And rejoice and be happy about it. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. I'd also like to invite you all to Sravasti Abbey. And there's brochures. Are they back there? You can pick them up on your way out. There's a lot of material on the website, audio and visual and written things. And come visit us.
Would you like me to play the video for the...
Yeah.